Today marks 40 years since Roe v. Wade, the landmark Supreme Court decision legalizing abortion. A new NBC News Wall Street Journal polls, a whopping 70% say the ruling should not be overturned. And you can see how that has incrementally gone up over the years. And for the first time, that same poll shows a majority say abortion should be legal always, or most of the time. Joining me now, Wisconsin Congresswoman Gwen Moore and Nancy Keenan, president of NARAL Pro-Choice America. Ladies, it's great to have you here today. And again, if we can just put that full screen back up to show again what this new poll is showing, where we are today, 70% think it should not be overturned. And we've seen this incremental increase from 1989 all the way up until now, where it has always had overwhelming support at 58%, but now we're at 70%. Congresswoman, I want to start out with you and ask you, why is this such a hot button issue in Washington right now, especially given the fact that the 113th has just been sworn in, but this seems like it's anew once again on Capitol Hill, talking about trying to do away with abortion rights in this country?
Thomas, it is very perplexing to me. This is the 40th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the ability for women to have a safe and legal abortion, but it really is 40 years of affirming motherhood. And to say, as we've said in our oaths of office that we take, that it should be done willfully and without purpose of evasion, and that we go into it mindful of the responsibility that is ahead of us. I mean, parenting is difficult on your best day, and I think that it doesn't serve children, and it certainly doesn't serve women to be forced into parenthood. And I think that this is what the public has come to understand, that safe, legal abortions are very important to the health of children, women, the institution of motherhood and family, and ultimately to our society. The costs to our society are tremendous when children are unwanted or parents are unprepared to take on this tremendous responsibility. And so it is perplexing to me why mostly men are continuing to carry us to the back alley abortion path. And I do want to take time to thank Nancy for her tremendous leadership over the past couple of years. She's about to retire from NARAL, but we would not have been able to articulate and educate the public to the extent that we have without her leadership.
And let's talk more about what we have seen over the last couple of years here, Nancy. The National Journal pointing out that abortion fight moves to the states while Obama picks Supreme Court justices. Believed to support abortion rights and back federal funding for Planned Parenthood, state legislatures quietly passed a record-setting number of restrictions over the past 2 years. And we're talking about the midterms that happened in 2010 in state legislatures where overwhelmingly Republican-controlled House got their hands on being able to craft more old-fashioned and very myopic laws that were trying to cut the rights off of women to have the rights that they had already had in place. How has that changed since this last election, and how has it even changed the conversation? Because it seems like we're having the same old conversations once again.
Well, again, you are exactly right, Thomas, that the 2010 elections, we saw a lot of anti-choice politicians elected. They didn't run on this issue. Had they run on it, they would have lost. But the fact is they ran on jobs, the economy, so we kind of got a bait and switch. The fact is in 2012, in this election, we elected more pro-choice members of Congress than in the states, but you bet the battle in the state is raging very, very hot, and it is denying women access to this care. So it's no longer about the legality of abortion care. It is about access, because they keep putting barriers up for women and thinking that politicians should make the decision, not women and their doctors and their families.
As we look at what the country and the geography of how things are laid out right now, Congresswoman, there are states with just one abortion clinic in them, and as we look at them, you can see them there: Mississippi, Arkansas, North Dakota, and South Dakota. A lot of people, a lot of women and men as well around the country might be very surprised to learn that those states only have one place where women can go. And that is not only because there's a concern for the safety of those that work at those clinics in that state, it's also because there isn't an appetite to support more facilities like that in those states, correct?
That's absolutely the case. And you know, when you start thinking about the gerrymandering, the drawing of political lines that support the most right-wing candidates across the country, Democrats, Thomas, received more votes than Republicans did, but because of the gerrymandering during redistricting, it has been very difficult to get pro-choice people elected to Congress. Perhaps in these states, citizens there can send a message not just about abortion, but about affirming American values and rights to privacy. And as Nancy pointed out, this is this decision that should be between a woman and her doctor, not some politician from Mississippi or South Dakota who has decided what your fate ought to be.
And real quickly, if we can just put that map up once again, just the geography, because I like people to see this. But Kansas there, which is not highlighted in the center of your screen, but is the connective tissue there through Nebraska to get up to the Dakotas. And the Huffington Post has a piece out today, Nancy, saying the Kansas abortion clinic where slain Dr. George Tiller practiced is set to reopen, and that's coming up this spring. That case itself it was so disruptive and so disturbing for so many people that work within this industry. How hard has it been for that place to reopen and for the people that work there to actually feel safe to do what they're doing?
Well, enormous courage on the part of the people that work in clinics across this country, because they're there every day to provide care for women. And in the case of Kansas, having to reopen a clinic so that women have access. Women in rural America sometimes have to travel hundreds of miles to access this very basic, common medical care. And again, what it boils down to is that we have to have people elected, whether it's a governor or legislators in a state or here in Congress, that believe and trust women to make this decision and not politicians. And so that is where the battle still rages, making sure women have access to this care across the country while still making sure that the politicians stay out of it.
All right, today we mark that 40-year anniversary, but yet it is still a hot-button topic of conversation. Congresswoman Gwen Moore, thanks for your time as well. Nancy Keenan, NARAL, thanks so much. Great to see you.